Hello there, I'm Wise Man Tanofsky, this is another day in my life, and just what is wrong with the third film? Now, for years it's been considered that the third part of a trilogy is the part that nobody likes. Now, this is by no means a generalisation of all of cinema. Return of the Jedi is one of the best films you'll ever see, and Last Crusade is infinitely superior to Temple of Doom. But on the other end of the scale, you've got your Revenge of the Siths, you've got your Rise of the Machines, you've got your X-Men Last Stands, and of course you've got your Spider-Man 3s. But what's wrong with these films? Why is it that when a series reaches the third film, it either takes its place in cinema history, or it flops outrageously? Well, today I'm going to take a look at a few examples of third movies that, in my humble opinion, really aren't as bad as people make out. Let's start with the Matrix trilogy. Now, the original Matrix was an instant classic. The action was incredible, the effects were mind-blowing, and the storyline actually made you think. And when Reloaded came along, we expected more of the same thing, and that's essentially what we got, except for the fact that it spoiled the ending 10 minutes into the film. But for the most part, it was a good movie. The action was great, the effects struggled to, keep up with the original, but for the most part, it kept your attention the whole way through. Here's my question. How did The Matrix Reloaded end? Now, as I said, it spoiled the ending in the opening 10 minutes, but can you actually remember how it actually played out? I certainly can't. The ending of Matrix Reloaded was forgettable. Now, how did the Matrix Revolutions end? That's easy. Massive, great big war between all the non-Matrixy humans and against the giant tentacly squiddy metal things, and Neo versus Smith in the middle of the great big city surrounded by an army of Smiths. Incredible effects, boom boom boom, action all in your face. Now, you can't judge a film solely on its climax, and this is where the Matrix Revolutions loses a lot of people, I can imagine. Yes, they do spend too much time in Zion with the boring non-Matrixy humans, and the film is 8 parts out of 9 just plain filler, to be honest, building up to the finale. But it's an incredible finale. Surely the film that you can actually remember is better, right? So yeah, I actually rather like The Matrix Revolutions. It's long, it's plodding, it's boring in some areas, but the finale pays off. Now let's move on to a film with a similar problem, Pirates of the Caribbean at World's End. Now, before we get started, I will be the first to say that yes, Pirates of the Caribbean should have remained a standalone film. Not a trilogy, no sequels, and certainly not the quadrilogy it's become with a 5th one on the way. Now, At World's End was without a doubt the darkest and the most unnecessary of the 3, and with nearly 3-hour runtime, it was the longest as well. My problem with the later Pirates of the Caribbean films is because they became too involved in the plot that they were trying to tell, with the whole EIC trying to take over the world, and Davy Jones trying to cash in on his debt with Jack Sparrow, and all that pointless flim-flam. And some of the comedy that made the original such a good film got lost in all of that. Now, for me, again, while it may have been long, plodding and unnecessary and boring in some areas, that final battle in the Maelstrom with the Flying Dutchman against the Black Pearl, that was awesome. The music was incredible. That track is one of my favourite tracks of all time from Hans Zimmer. The action was mind-blowing, and to me, it was a better ending than Dead Man's Chest, which once again had a very forgettable ending. There was no massive boom, 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 like was going on in the third one, and that's what I want. I want action from a movie. I want to see something happening, not to just see people talking about it. Let's talk about Terminator 3. Now, to a lot of people, Terminator 2 is the best one of the series because it develops the character of the Terminator from a mindless killing machine into a genuine and believable character. Then again, there are those that prefer the original and say that Terminator 2 ruined the character by making him a good guy. What the world seems to be agreed on is the fact that Terminator 3 is a criminal waste of film. And on this one, I kind of agree, and I kind of don't. While again it was hardly a smudge on Terminator 1 and Terminator 2, out of the two by the way, I'm with the people who say that T2 was better, it did keep my attention the whole way through the film. There was some good action, there was some good comedy, it was good to see where John Connor ended up after the events of T2, and how much it screwed his life up. The antagonist of the film, while again not a stain on the T-1000, took the concepts of the T-800 and the 1000 series and combined them into a sexy and menacing villainess who was some serious fun to watch. My problem with this film? It didn't really accomplish anything by existing. I mean, they made out at the start that they were going out to stop Judgment Day. That was what they were going to do. And then by the end of the film, it was just, oh, we weren't meant to stop Judgment Day, we were just supposed to survive it. Well, according to the first and second film, we know you survive it, because that's how the war starts and how you send time travel. So yeah, on this one, I am 50-50. But for the most part, it's an enjoyable film, and it's certainly better than the piece of trash that followed it. What's that you say? I'm being too safe. Oh, I see. You want controversy? You want a dangerous opinion? Okay, put down your glasses and hold on to your monocles because I like X-Men The Last Stand. I'm sorry, I do. There is no denying that the first two films are better than the third. And there's also no denying that the third film took a giant mutant turd on the Phoenix Saga and threw the whole persecution subplot out of the window, fully embracing a full-blown action theme. But I don't care. I don't care that it's too long. I don't care that the writing is terrible. I don't care that the acting is terrible. I don't care what they did to the Juggernaut. I still enjoy this film for what it is. Because it's what I wanted all along from an X-Men film. It's bad mutants versus humans and good mutants. It's the war that was hinted on throughout the entirety of the first two films, and it's finally happening right in front of you. Now, don't get me wrong, there are some seriously crappy scenes in it, but come on. X2 had Mystique seducing Wolverine before turning into an old man. Ew. To a lot of people, this film is complete garbage, but I can remember really enjoying it. I appreciate, now that I'm older, the bits that aren't as good, but I still enjoy it as a movie. And all I can ever remember hearing from people is how awful it was. Well, to be honest, I came out of Days of Future Past very disappointed. But that's a review for another day. Now then, let's talk about Star Wars. Revenge of the Sith was not as bad as everyone says it was. That's right. I went there. Now, I will be the first to say that the prequel trilogy was done all wrong. Phantom was a mess, Clones was boring, but Sith was a winner from the start. Out of the three of them, it is the best one there. Now, you can say that making that analogy is like choosing the least disgusting turd out of 3 dog poops on a pavement. And yeah, you're kinda right. I am not saying it's a good film, I am saying it's the best one of the 3. That opening was incredible. As a 14-year-old boy sat in the cinema, all those Star Destroyers, all those fighters, just stuff blowing up everywhere. It was like witnessing the Battle of Endor in the cinema, which of course I never got to do. So shoot me for embracing the next best thing. Now, yes, the acting was dodgy, the writing was all over the place, the effects were unnecessary, and they outright raped General Grievous's character. But I got what I went in for. The last few steps of Anakin's descent into the dark side, the fall of the Republic, the rise of the Empire, the extermination of the Jedi. All of that good stuff. Now, Sith gets a bad rap largely due to the overdependence on CG and other such failings, but at least there was no Jar Jar in it. That, to me, is an improvement. Having said that, I will say that that last "no" from Darth Vader was awful and completely out of character, so you get a point there, but it's only 1 point. Yeah, it might surprise you to learn that I don't always disagree with this general hatred towards the third movie. Batman Forever, a horrible step in the wrong direction for the Batman series. I've already said that Dark of the Moon was a horrible Transformers film, and Jurassic Park 3 is one of the most annoying films I've ever had to sit through. And sit through it I did. You can barely go a month before ITV puts that stuff on. I've seen it so many times now that I know exactly where the adverts are going to be. But I will defend it in saying that it was better than The Lost World. Another one that I agree with, Alien 3. Now, Alien was an instant classic. Aliens is one of the few instances in the whole of cinema history where the sequel is considered to be better than the original. And then Alien 3 came along and killed off the entire supporting cast from Aliens, and tried to force this claustrophobic feeling from the original on us with its prison setting, and then just threw in a random rape scene to try and shock us into liking it. And then it killed off Ripley at the end. What a load of poop! I enjoyed Resurrection more than I enjoyed Alien 3, and that is saying something. Then there's Hannibal, the third film in the Hannibal Lecter series. For some reason, everyone hates this one too, and this one I really don't understand. Now, in Silence of the Lambs and in Red Dragon, Hannibal Lecter took a back seat to the Tooth Fairy and Buffalo Bill. In Hannibal, it's all about him as the primary antagonist. It's all about Starling's pursuit to track him down. It's all about his obsession with her. Now, this could have been down to the fact that they replaced Jodie Foster with Julianne Moore, and that might put a lot of people off. But I thoroughly enjoyed Anthony Hopkins' performance in this film, as always, as the cannibalistic doctor. And it's a million times better than the half-baked piece of crap prequel that we got next. Now, I'm going to end on a film that I both do understand and don't understand the level of hate for it, and that film is Spider-Man 3. Now, when I first saw this film, I loved it. I can remember going to see it with a group of my friends at the cinema, and it was great. So I was genuinely surprised when Josh stood up at the end and announced for all the cinema to hear, well, that was... naughty word in reference to poo. I didn't get it at all. I thought it was great. There were plenty of villains to keep your attention, lots of action going on. Yeah, there was a pointless break-up scene going on there halfway through, but who was really paying attention to that when Sandman was blowing stuff up? Speaking of the Sandman, that scene where the Sandman wakes up for the first time after being created or whatever. No vocals, just silence and the music. And you know exactly what's going on in his head. And again, I come to the final battle, and that's the bit that I really liked. It was great. Now, of course, there are bits in it that I didn't like. I've already talked about the pointless breakup subplot. There's Venom, of course. Venom got screwed over, one of the most popular Spider-Man villains of all time, and he got completely pooped all over, in all honesty. And the buff and intimidating Eddie Brock that I saw in the 90s cartoon series got replaced by a whiny little pussy. Then, of course, there's Emo Peter, and everything that needs to be said about Emo Peter has already been said, so let's not even bother talking about Emo Peter. Even John Travolta would be ashamed of those moves. But it doesn't ruin the movie for me, and like the Nostalgia Critic said, it's a Spider-Man movie. There is always going to be pointless rubbish that doesn't make sense, and scenes that make you go, awkward, move on. But hey, it's on DVD now. You can skip all those scenes with the push of a button. Now, I take film very seriously. No, I do. I admit that. I have an incredibly over-analytical mind, and I'm always trying to root out the message that a film is trying to send. Because as far as I'm concerned, if a movie doesn't have a message to send, it serves no purpose. And if it serves no purpose, it shouldn't exist. And maybe that's the problem that other people have with these films. Maybe they feel like the story was concluded in the first and second and really didn't warrant a third. And that's a fair enough opinion. You know, maybe they think that the third serves no purpose other than to try and scrounge some more money out of people stupid enough to go and see it. But you know what? I'm one of the people stupid enough to go and see it. And I'm one of the people who have such a horrible opinion of movies that I will probably enjoy it, to be honest. But for the most part, I disagree. The films that I've mentioned are not the worst films ever made. I know it, you know it. Some of them even still have a decent moral to teach and a message to send, and if they've got a message to send, then they have a right to exist in my world. So, don't just jump on the bandwagon and hate on these films just because it's what everyone else does. Have your own opinion and take it for what it is. Doesn't matter what other people think at the end of the day. If you enjoy it, it's a good movie. As far as I'm concerned, as long as films like After Earth, The Room, and Devils of War exist, I will pick one of these movies over them any day. Now, the comments section is there for a reason. Discuss away. What are your favourite third movies that everyone hates? Or do you hate them as well? Why do you hate them? Why do you think other people hate them? Discuss amongst yourselves, and I'll try to reply wherever possible. I've been Wiseman Tanofsky. This has been another day in my life, and join me next time for my top 10 favourite classical music tracks. See you then.